Miss vs Fierce Man+I recognition Treasure+Warm Daily+Effort to make money. What should tens of thousands of people who wear adult pronouns think their ex-wife died early? As the best jewelry designer, Yuan Xiaomi expressed a lack of words. The original owner kept a mountain full of mineral treasures and refused to dig, insisting on competing with the female lead for a man. Are you crazy? She's not so stupid. So she used her professional knowledge and a pair of strange eyes to embark on a crazy plan to accumulate wealth. One day, manager Qin discovered that his little wife, who worked in heaven and earth, seemed to have changed her personality. On the surface, pretend to be close to him and help him in his career. In fact, the divorce agreement had already been written and was hidden in a wooden box under the bed. I plan to leave the house clean. Manager Qin. Recently, I haven't been working hard enough. The little girl still has the strength to escape, which is his responsibility. Keywords of the novel. 80s ex-wife awakens without pop-ups, 80s ex-wife awakens with no pop-ups, complete download of TXT, 80s ex-wife awakens with the latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Treating people as fools. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Treating People as Fools. In the summer of 1987, in a deep mountain forest on the border of Yunnan province in southwest China, a few scattered rows of wooden houses are hidden in the forest, with smoke rising from the kitchen. Suddenly, a fierce cry came from the room on the far right. Ah! Yuan Xiaomi suddenly opened his eyes, suppressing the sharp pain in his arms and thighs, and looked at the person who was hitting him. What situation? Isn't she at the award ceremony of the International Jewelry Design Competition? How did you get here? Before Xiaomi could figure out the situation, another whip fell. Suddenly, a shadow lay on his body, and he could even feel the ticks caused by the pain. Suddenly, Xiaomi became angry and used all her strength to grab the whip that was about to be whipped. Staring at the other person with sharp eyes. What are you doing? You're sick. Do you dare to resist? Fu Yao didn't expect the chubby woman to dare to resist. Just as she was about to step forward and continue smoking, the door to the room suddenly opened. A robust young man walked in from outside. The man had wheat-colored skin and a cold face. Seeing the situation in the room, his eyes narrowed slightly, but he quickly concealed his true emotions. On this side, Fu Yao felt a bit confused when she saw her older brother coming back. But he quickly pinched his thigh, closed his eyes, and ran towards the man with tears in his eyes. Take the other person's arm and start to speak confidently. Brother, you manage Yuan Xiaomi. She stole her aunt's nutritional supplements and drank them all. Aunt didn't have any supplements to replenish her energy today, and she fainted at noon. And besides, Ning Ning is also helping her and blaming me. Fu Yaojiao wiped away her tears, as if she had suffered a great deal of injustice. Upon hearing the other person's words, Qin Zan lifted his deep gaze and scanned the chubby woman lying on the ground and his sister, who had always lowered her head without a word. Finally, his gaze fell on the whip in Fu Yao's hand. A hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Did she still hit someone? Suppressing his doubts, Qin Zan said expressionlessly. I will handle this matter. Fu Yao was extremely angry when she saw that her elder brother didn't believe her words. But still nodding weakly on his face. Brother, are you blaming me for hitting someone? I'm really angry, and I didn't want to hit my sister. It was Yuan Xiaomi who pulled Ning Ning over. Upon hearing these words, Yuan Xiaomi sat on the ground and laughed instead of getting angry. Does this woman lack a string in her head and have a strong tea flavor? She really thinks everyone is stupid. So, enduring the pain, he stood up and helped Ning Ning, who had just blocked the whip for him. I couldn't help but sneer out loud. Even if I steal food, you can't hit people. Who are you from this family? Even if I do something wrong, I don't need you to punish me. Although Yuan Xiaomi has not yet figured out the situation, it is not difficult to guess the relationship between the two people after hearing their conversation just now. Auntie, sister, brother. You. Fu Yao's teeth were itching with hatred, but she knew the other person was telling the truth. She is just the daughter of a relative who was fostered in the Qin family, she is really not anyone. Brother, I have really been wronged. I just feel sorry for my aunt. She has fainted several times recently. Fu Yao was sobbing softly, tears streaming down her cheeks. At this moment, Yuan Xiaomi was stunned. Because a prompt suddenly appeared in her mind to return half of the dowry. Subsequently, he began to spread rumors. Fu Yao, this is not the first time you've hit me. I tell you, don't push me too hard, otherwise I'll run home and the Qin family will unconditionally return half of the dowry money. Upon hearing these words, not only Fu Yao, but also Qin Zan himself was bewildered. Because my grandfather was saved by someone back then and even promised to marry the girl from that household. Well, he just retired from the military and didn't even see the bride's face, so he hurriedly married in. At noon that day, I followed the people from the mountains to the mine for over 2 months, and only today did I have time to go home. What? Dowry money. Qin Zan looked at Yuan Xiaomi in confusion. At this moment, Qin Ning, who remained silent on the side, finally spoke up. The voice was like the noise of a mosquito. Big brother, please. Make sure the book is in the first drawer of your room cabinet. Upon hearing Ning Ning's words, Qin Zan restrained his mind. A decision was made in an instant. Fu Yao, I'll handle this matter here. You go out. But. Yuan Xiaomi. Fu Yao was almost furious when she saw the other party asking her to go out. She. No matter how bad she is, she's my Qin Zan's wife. She made a mistake and I'll take care of her. After speaking, open the door directly and signal the other party to go out. No matter how unwilling Fu Yao is, she can only leave in the end. As for Qin Ning, she was more sensible and timidly looked at her elder brother and sister. In law. He lowered his head and left. At this moment, there were only Yuan Xiaomi and Qin Zan in the room. Yuan Xiaomi was finally able to take a good look at the man in front of him. Even, the line of sight cannot be separated at all. Even though there is immense pain on the body, it still cannot stop the acceleration of the heart and the restlessness of the deer. On the chubby face, there was even a hint of shyness. Why? Why does the face that I have been secretly in love with for 20 years appear here? Have you seen enough? Qin Zan pursed his lips and asked with a calm expression. Unexpectedly, they saw the other party shake their head quickly. I haven't seen enough. She has been secretly in love for 20 years, hoping to take an extra look every day. How can she see enough? Qin Zan. Anyway, you shouldn't touch my mother's supplements. She just had a major surgery and needs these. If I hear Fu Yao mention this matter to me again next time I come back, I will take some measures that you can't bear. Qin Zan's tone was sharp and even threatening. At this moment, only a line of words remained in Yuan Xiaomi's mind. Help the male lead Qin Zan become a business tycoon in order to return to his original world. If this command is not executed, he will annihilate the flying ashes and be taken offline early. Fly ash annihilates. Isn't that just a dead end? She doesn't want to die. No, 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 I won't do it again in the future. Yuan Xiaomi's head is shaking like a tambourine. You. I promise. Yuan Xiaomi quickly raised his hand and made an oath. No matter what, she must complete the task. Besides, the face of the man in front of me is the face I have been secretly in love with for 20 years. Even if it's not the same person, the same face is fine. You may not believe me, but it's not short of these 3 to 5 days. You can test me. If I really can't do it, then no matter how you arrange for me, I have no complaints. Qin Zanwei squinted his eyes and thought of the past 2 months when Fu Yao went to the mine to visit him. He once mentioned that Yuan Xiaomi is a woman with many tricks, lazy and not worth believing, and so on. A hint of hesitation flashed in my heart. But today the other party's performance is indeed different from what Fu Yao said. Can the other party really change? Just as Qin Zan hesitated, the door was suddenly forcefully pushed open. Baby, Ertao has opened a new article. Hope everyone likes it. Click on a bookmark. Mamoda. This article is still a chronological text, maintaining the consistent maternal attributes of Ertao. Pet to death. The female protagonist of Xinwen is a jewelry designer with strange eyes, and is a beautiful chubby girl, framed and will lose weight later on. The male protagonist is a retired military officer who was determined to pursue a career, but ended up being ruined. I even lost my heart. Then Tao applied again for 2 points. This book is elevated, please do not pay attention to it. Writing is just for fun. #carrot. #. If Baozi doesn't like it, be sure to spray Ertao lightly. Ertao is so cute. You can't bear it, can you? Mamoda. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Intimate contact activates X.rays. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Intimate contact activates X.rays. A tall, dark-skinned man burst into the door. Seeing Qin Zan, he grinned excitedly, revealing his big white teeth. Boss, hurry up and take a look. Domzi and his team just came up with a basket of ore, something they've never seen before. Upon hearing the tall man's words, Qin Zan's eyes couldn't help but brighten. They had been digging in this mine for over 2 months. With countless human and material resources, I finally saw the ore. Let's go take a look. After speaking, he immediately turned around and ran with the tall one. And Yuan Xiaomi didn't get angry when he saw himself being ignored. She was actually interested in the unseen mine in the tall man's mouth. There's no way, who makes this her old profession? Her ancestors made gold and silver jewelry. In modern times, gold and silver jewelry did not make money from gemstone jewelry, so a new industry was opened up to make jewelry. As a descendant, Yuan Xiaomi was admitted to the University of Geosciences in order to better find high-quality jade and diamonds. Conduct in-depth research on mineral resources. Fortunately, all of this effort was worth it, and the jewelry she carved is famous worldwide. I didn't expect that she just won the gold medal at the 2023 International Jewelry Design Competition and came here. Thinking of this, Yuan Xiaomi shook the flesh on his body, and in an instant, a heart-wrenching pain hit. Take a look at the injuries on your body, take a few rags from the nearby table, and simply bandage them. She must go and take a look. The first step to success in getting rich is to pick up one's old profession. The mine is not far from residential buildings, and it takes about 17 or 18 minutes to walk. But from the place of residence to the mine, there is a long steep slope, which makes it a bit difficult for normal people to walk. Yuan Xiaomi dragged her body full of flesh and injuries, step by step, and crawled to the vicinity of the mine on the mountain with a muffled stomach. Looking at such an irregular mine, I just wanted to stand down and rest for a while. I was hit hard by someone running from behind. I was already exhausted and suddenly, my feet didn't stand firm for a while, so I rushed forward. Yuan Xiaomi obediently closed his eyes, but the pain of falling on the ground had not yet arrived, and it was even a bit soft. As soon as I opened my eyes, I happened to see Qin Zan pressed under me. I saw a hint of unnatural expression on the other person's face, and then quickly pushed away her obese body. But because she was too overweight, Yuan Xiaomi pushed her to half the position and lay on the other person's body again. The soft and hard touch makes Yuan Xiaomi's heart constantly ripple. This is her first time having such intimate contact with a man. Especially when the other person wears a face that they have been secretly in love with for 20 years. Not being excited is fake. And for some reason, at the moment when she first touched the other person and her heart was beating the hardest, her eyes seemed to change slightly. To verify one's own ideas. Yuan Xiaomi once again tightly hugged Qin Zan's sturdy waist. The solid lines of the other party immediately filled the entire embrace. Yuan Xiaomi's heart involuntarily became increasingly intense. Suddenly, she felt the scene in front of her turn and was stunned. Is this what she can see? Qin Zan's fruit body. No, not entirely. There is also a layer of baffle below. It's a bit out of place, there was a bug and it blocked a block. Yuan Xiaomi stared intently at Qin Zan's body, and Qin Zan exploded when he saw the other person's expression that was about to eat him. Directly push the person away, stand up, quickly turn around, and forcefully tug at the clothes to conceal the embarrassment in your heart. And Yuan Xiaomi, who was pushed away, flipped around on the ground and finally fixed his gaze on the bamboo basket containing or not far away. There is a faint hint of red in the ore. Xiaomi rubbed her eyes hard to make sure she wasn't mistaken. There are indeed scattered red colors. So, enduring the pain on his body, he quickly got up and walked towards the basket of ore. When everyone saw this, they immediately stopped the person. What are you doing? Do you know how valuable this thing is? Get lost. The speaker was a middle-aged man with a hairy beard, who didn't know Yuan Xiaomi and thought it was a wild girl from somewhere. The tone was very harsh, even wanting to hit someone. Qin Zan didn't like Yuan Xiaomi anymore, after all, he was his own wife, so he quickly raised his hand to stop her. The other party only put down their arms when they saw the boss refusing to fight. Those who are sensible should quickly get out of here. And all of Xiaomi's attention is focused on the ore. Looking closer, the red range is getting wider and wider. Suddenly, Xiaomi tightly closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she saw a few lines of small characters appearing on them. Type. Agate ingredients. Silica gel hardness. Specific gravity. Appearance. Reference price. Yuan Xiaomi. What's going on? How did your eyes turn into X.rays? Is it because I just touched Qin Zan's body? Just as she was stunned, her arm was tightly clamped by someone. Not everyone can come to the mine, hurry back. Qin Zan glanced at the people around him and scolded with a cold expression. Upon hearing the sound, Xiaomi turned around and looked at the other person with a serious expression. I said I know this, or, do you believe it? As soon as these words were spoken, the people around burst out laughing. Who do you think you are? Yeah, it's shameless. In our 10-mile 8 villages and several mountains, only Lao Yuan Tu would look at mines. Speaking of Lao Yuan Tu, Yuan Xiaomi looked up at Qin Zan, who remained silent. Qin Zan frowned and glanced at the mineral. After more than 2 months of hard work, only this type of ore has been produced. What if Yuan Xiaomi really inherits Lao Yuan Tu's skills? Do you really know? How do you know if you don't try? At this moment, Yuan Xiaomi's face, although still chubby and full of meat, with 2 muddy marks on it, looks shabby no matter what. But Qin Zan thinks she is very confident. Okay, take a look. Seeing Qin Zan agree, Xiaomi happily pursed the corner of her lips and whispered, "Thank you," before squatting down. Take out a palm-sized ore from the bamboo basket and carefully examine it. A few minutes later, she was very certain that there was agate inside. And the judgment her eyes just gave was correct. But now, my eyes have returned to normal and there are no more small lines of text. I can only see the dots of red in the ore. Qin Zan saw Yuan Xiaomi put down the ore and quickly asked. What is this? Agate. Agate. The people around looked at Yuan Xiaomi incredulously, thinking they had seen a monster. Are you joking? We are mining jade, how could there be agate? That's right, can you stop talking nonsense? You don't have much ability, just talk nonsense. Everyone was extremely disgusted by Yuan Xiaomi's inference. After all, they went for the jade, but now they are told it's agate. At this moment, the middle-aged man with a long beard shouted with a tiger face. Qin Zan, it was you who said that this mine could mine ore, but now, find a yellow-haired girl to deceive us. End of this chapter. Chapter 3 is a bit special. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 is a bit special, at first, but I heard you say there is jade in this mining area. Do you know how long we've been digging with you? For over 2 months without any compensation, everyone worked hard and couldn't return home. They could only stay in a temporary wooden house built at the foot of the mountain. At this point, more and more people gather at the mine. Qin Zan's face became increasingly ugly. Yuan Xiaomi couldn't help but sweat for the man when he saw the miners gathering. Just as I was about to say a few words, I heard the other person speak. Her name is Yuan Xiaomi and she is my wife. In our Heezy village, there is only one family with the surname Yuan. I believe you are also aware of Mr. Yuan's abilities. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone burst into laughter. Qin Zan, it turns out you're marrying her. That's right, do you know that the most unsuccessful thing in Mr. Yuan's life is having his granddaughter, Yuan Xiaomi? Everyone, every word you say makes Yuan Xiaomi worthless. What kind of laziness is not only foolish, but also like a pig and so on. Upon hearing these words, Qin Zan suddenly turned his face to look at Yuan Xiaomi who was stunned in place. I saw his eyes fixed, seemingly indifferent to these evaluations. But at the corner of his mouth, he suppressed a hint of emotion. It's no use saying so much, let's test it. If it's really true, at least it's worth the efforts of these 2 months. After speaking, Qin Zan walked up to Xiaomi. Are you sure this is agate? Xiaomi nodded forcefully, relying on her expertise, she wouldn't even take her eyes off. Even if you look away, the prompt from your eyes just now will not go wrong. Okay, prove it to them. Faced with everyone's doubts, Yuan Xiaomi took a deep breath. Then, without any hesitation, he picked up the small piece of ore he had just taken and slowly tapped it on the ground. After the rock was knocked off, he gently rubbed it around with his hand. After more than 10 minutes, a small piece of red finally appeared. Did you see it? It's red. Agate is a type of chalcedony mineral, a striped block mixed with opal and cryptocrystalline quartz, with many colors, including red. As for the price, I can't estimate it yet, after all, I don't know the production volume. Moreover, Xiaomi is not very clear about the prices in the 1980s. The original owner paid no attention to anything else except eating and sleeping. Upon hearing her explanation, everyone rushed over and took the piece from her hand. Oh my goodness, there's really red. I just don't know if this thing is worth it or not. I've been digging for over 2 months. Yeah, if we don't mine again, we'll all have to drink the northwest wind. His mother, it's better to pay for this thing, or the labor and capital will quit. It's better to drink the wind than to do this. Big guy, you talk to me every word, even though they were just belittling Yuan Xiaomi. But at this moment, no one mentioned that again. Seeing this scene, Xiaomi quietly withdrew from the circle and limped to the side. If it was really agate, even if it wasn't as valuable in the 1980s, she could still make it valuable. She will carve it into jewelry. Just no convenient tools. Thinking of his expensive carving tools in his past life, Xiaomi couldn't help but sigh. The feeling of starting from scratch is quite uncomfortable. Anyway, in her past life, she was also a wealthy lady who was devoted to carving jewelry and researching minerals all year round. The clothes come and the food comes and goes. Looking ahead, Xiaomi pouted her lips in frustration. How should we live our next days? Xiaomi stood there in a daze. And Qin Zan, who had been paying attention to her, noticed that the other person was standing there with a constipated face, so he walked over. He asked in a deep voice, "How do we estimate production?" For some reason, Qin Zan felt that the chubby girl in front of him could definitely answer this question. Actually, it's not difficult. Ask the workers at the mine to verify the area, length, distance, and thickness of this type of ore, and you can roughly estimate it. But the simplest way is to let me go down, so that the estimation can be more accurate. As an excellent master's degree graduate from the University of Geosciences, estimating production is just a small matter for her. Upon hearing this sentence, Qin Zan's first reaction was to look at the other person's huge figure. Finally, I awkwardly coughed twice. "You can't go down." Yuan Xiaomi followed the other person's gaze, lowered her head to look at her figure, and collapsed, twitching the corners of her mouth. "Then let someone take the data and try to be more detailed and accurate." Upon hearing this, Qin Zan looked up at the sky and realized that it was getting late. It was already too late today. Everyone needs to rest even after a tiring day. Let the brothers gather the data tomorrow morning. After making a decision, Qin Zan went to arrange for the brothers. And Xiaomi turned around and walked down the mountain. She has finished what needs to be done, and the rest is not something she can manage. When I returned home, the sun had already set and the sky was dark. From afar, you can see your own house shining. Little by little. In the deep mountains and forests, even if there is electricity, it is still tightly used in mines, and ordinary people can only use oil lamps. Before reaching the door, I heard Fu Yao sitting at the kitchen door cursing. At this moment, seeing Yuan Xiaomi, he angrily ran out. "Where did you go? I wonder if you have to cook tonight." "I don't do anything every day, I really treat myself like a young lady." "Do you know what outsiders call you? Big idiot." Seeing Fu Yao's gritted teeth, Yuan Xiaomi rolled her eyes indecently and then walked silently through the kitchen. "You're really right, she's the daughter of a wealthy family. Not to mention cooking, she has to be taken care of when brushing her teeth and washing her face." "Hey, where are you going?" Fu Yao saw the chubby woman walking straight towards the bedroom and couldn't help but scream out loud. "I tell you, you must cook dinner today." Xiaomi ignored the other party and only left them with a sturdy back. Seeing this, Fu Yao walked angrily to the stove and gave Qin Ning a scolding while she was burning. "Why don't you cook dinner tonight? Put some meat in, don't be stingy. By the way, don't make that woman's portion." After speaking, he twisted his butt and left. But Qin Ning lowered her head and cooked obediently and honestly, but she didn't listen to Fu Yao. She left an extra piece of roasted sweet potato for her sister-in-law, which she loved to eat. At this moment, Qin Zan returned from the mountain and saw his sister cooking in the kitchen. He walked directly into the door to help. "I'll help you." Qin Ning looked up and saw that it was his elder brother. He didn't speak, but he still snatched the firewood from the other person's hand and then turned his head to look at his sister-in-law's room. Although I didn't say anything, the meaning was very obvious. "Let my brother go see my sister-in-law." Qin Zanxiao understood his sister's intentions, but he still has to return to the mine later and doesn't have that much time. But there are some things he also wants to share with his introverted and reserved sister. Ning, just now Yuan Xiaomi went to the mine and found agate in the ore mine today." Upon hearing his elder brother's words, Qin Ning lifted her head in an instant, her face full of disbelief. That seems to be asking, is sister-in-law so powerful? Actually, I don't know either. I also saw her for the first time today. It's a bit special. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Stubborn Under Pressure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Stubborn Under Pressure. Extremely chubby. As a former outstanding military king in the army, he was unable to push the opponent away immediately when they fell on him. Being crushed to death. Seeing that her older brother didn't dislike Yuan Xiaomi, Qin Ning finally smiled, with a shallow smile and a hint of shyness. Brother. She's very kind to me. Give me something to eat. Upon hearing his sister's words, Qin Zan couldn't help but be stunned. Ning Ning has been introverted since childhood and has distanced herself from everyone, including her deceased father and critically ill mother. Only get close to him, but he is always in the army. Unexpectedly, my younger sister actually likes Yuan Xiaomi. Okay, then I'll leave first and go back to the mine. You. Have a good meal. Qin Zan stood up and glanced at Yuan Xiaomi's room before leaving. Returning to the room, Yuan Xiaomi finally had the opportunity to lie on the bamboo collapse and rest for a while. That's right, bamboo collapse. There isn't even a decent bed or heated Kong in the room. Lying on it, one can even feel the sensation of being pierced into the skin by the burrs of bamboo. But she's too tired. I just want to lie down. I also want to sort out why I came to this unfamiliar world. At this moment, the room was quiet, but Xiaomi's mind was clear. Quickly, many images flashed through my mind. Those scenes were something she had never experienced before. About half an hour later, Xiaomi took a few deep breaths to suppress the pent-up feeling. She's wearing a book. Wearing a male-themed novel set in an era, the original protagonist is not only a cannon fodder female supporting character, but also a short-term treasure-giving cannon fodder female supporting character. In the remaining scenes, he brought many opportunities and treasures to the male lead. And after promoting the love between the male lead and Bai Yueguang, glory went offline. The female supporting character in the book is also called Yuan Xiaomi, with the same name and surname as her. At the age of 20, he has been lazy and irritable since childhood. Whether it is his studies or character, he is useless and despised by others. No one from all over the country is willing to marry her. One day, an old Taoist went to the Yuan family and told them that if Yuan Xiaomi couldn't get married at the age of 20, the Yuan family would be ruined. In this way, the old man of the Yuan family took out a portion of his family property, totaling 800 yuan, and even brought a dowry to send his granddaughter directly to the deep mountains and forests to be his wife. The man who married Yuan Xiaomi is called Qin Zan, a recently retired military officer. Due to the promise of our ancestors, we had to marry Yuan Xiaomi. After marrying into the Qin family, Yuan Xiaomi's difficult days had just arrived. A seriously ill mother, a timid and introverted younger sister, and a foster girl named Fu Yao from the Qin family. In short, chickens fly and dogs dance every day. Thinking of this, Xiaomi sighed again. The opening death script made her turn the tables, which was quite challenging. I don't know if it was because I was beaten by Fu Yao today that my body malfunctioned. Still really tired, anyway, thinking about it, Xiaomi fell asleep. Opening his eyes again, he was awakened by Fu Yao's roar. Every day, I know how to sleep, dead pig. Get up quickly. Amidst the angry scolding from the other party, Xiaomi stood up obediently. I only moved a little and found that my whole body was pricked with needles. Looking down at the whip wounds on his body and legs, he couldn't help but shake his head. That T-girl is really ruthless. She needs to find some medicine, otherwise the purple-blue all over her body not only looks scary, but also unbearable. A few minutes later, Xiaomi came to the kitchen and saw Qin Ning cooking breakfast. Oh, have you woken up, big and small? I see that you are delicate and expensive, and I'm afraid you can't stand our simple meals, so I didn't make breakfast for you. Fu Yao leaned against the kitchen door frame and looked at Yuan Xiaomi arrogantly. Xiaomi doesn't even care about the targeting and dislike of T-girl. She just felt that the other person was too noisy, so she gave a cold glance. If I don't eat, then I won't eat. Coincidentally, I'll lose weight. You. Fu Yao choked and didn't know what to say, so she had to turn around and go outside. At this moment, Qin Ning, who was squatting on the ground and burning a fire, stood up and placed a bamboo basket in Xiaomi's hand. Pretty eyebrows and eyes blinked a few times. Xiaomi held a bamboo basket with some weight and immediately smiled. Whispered a few words in the other person's ear and left their small yard. After Xiaomi walked out of her small courtyard, she finally saw the whole picture around her. Her house is the last one in this row of wooden houses, closest to the mountains and mines. Standing at the entrance, one could hear the chirping of birds coming from the forest. You can even see a clear stream not far away. In her past life, she only focused on studying, carving, and developing her family business from childhood to adulthood. When is it so leisurely? So, Xiaomi slowly walked to the side of the stream. As soon as he squatted down to the side, he saw the plump face reflected by the stream. Startled, he fell to the ground in an instant. This must weigh over 200 pounds. She knew she was overweight, but she didn't expect to gain weight like this. It's hard for Qin Zhan to see that he can still remain so calm. However, upon closer inspection, besides being a bit overweight, Yuan Xiaomi's facial features are quite beautiful. A pair of big peach blossom eyes, fair and tender skin, cherry small mouth. He is not short either. Standing under a big tree, he looks about 1.65 meters tall. No, she wants to lose weight and can't waste such good resources. Perhaps with a resolute attitude, Xiaomi turned to look at the stream and suddenly noticed a grass standing not far away. There is no description on that grass, but it is surrounded by an aperture. This grass should have an effect on her. From yesterday when I accepted to wear books, to later when my eyes unexpectedly gained a superpower. At this moment, Xiaomi has learned to remain calm. Quickly walk over and pick that grass. The light and charm of the grass immediately disappeared. Although I don't know what this grass is used for, it must be useful. So, look anywhere. Whenever there is grass circled by an aperture, she picks it off. However, the place where these grasses grow is relatively secretive, and if not carefully searched, they really cannot be found. Unconsciously, Xiaomi walked a long way and saw the towering trees all around, which made her feel a bit scared. If you encounter a snake or something, you won't have time to escape. So, quickly turn around and run towards the direction of home. Once a person has bad luck, even a sip of water can be stuck between their teeth. Looking at the big snake standing up not far away, Xiaomi really wanted to slap herself hard in the mouth. Crow's mouth. Why don't you say something good? Hee hee. Snake brother, our well water doesn't invade the river. Can you take your Yangguan road and I take my single wooden bridge without interfering with each other? As soon as this sentence was spoken, the big snake moved forward. Xiaomi suddenly felt her scalp tingling, and at this moment, she couldn't move. Look around and see if there are any tools that can pick the snake away. Fortunately, there is a branch over 1 meter away, 3 meters away. Xiaomi calmly looked at the green snake 5 meters away and muttered softly. Are you interested in these medicines from me? Can I give them all to you? I also have roasted sweet potatoes, which taste good. After speaking, the big snake advanced 2 meters further. End of this chapter. No wonder everyone calls you a fool in chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No wonder everyone calls you a fool in chapter 5. Xiaomi took a few deep breaths, calmed down, and took the last few steps to reach the branch, just about to pick it up. I saw that the snake had already moved to its position. Lying trough. This speed is amazing. So, with a horizontal heart. If it's a big deal, I'll take it offline. She didn't believe it anymore. She didn't do anything and could make her die. Xiaomi closed her eyes and waited. Suddenly, a soft laugh came from the ear. Opening his eyes again, he saw Qin Zhan holding the 7-inch green snake in his hand, standing not far away, smiling at himself. Upon closer inspection, the snake in the opponent's hand showed no signs of life. Thank you. Thank you. Xiaomi said with some embarrassment, afraid that someone might have looked at her silly appearance just now. Qin Zan walked over with a snake and lifted his other hand to remove the leaves from the little girl's head before pointing them out to the other person. Although this snake is green, to determine if it is venomous, it depends on its head. Its head is round and its snake teeth are flat in a row, so it is non-toxic. Upon hearing the other party's explanation, Yuan Xiaomi glanced at the snake again and finally nodded. I got it. This snake is called the green bamboo snake. There are many in our mountainous area. If you see it in the future, don't run, just pick up a branch and pick it up. As he finished speaking, he took the bamboo basket from Xiaomi's hand and placed the snake inside. You can add a dish tonight. Eat. Eat snake meat. Xiaomi looked at Qin Zan in horror, even though he had the same face. But the man in front of her is obviously bolder and more passionate than the one she has a crush on, full of hormones. This isn't that good, is it? Thinking of importing slippery things, Xiaomi suddenly felt uncomfortable all over. Although she has eaten eels, she still has some differences from snakes. Our mining area is very poor, even a grasshopper is a good thing. Speaking of which, looking down at Yuan Xiaomi. She is so poor that she can still raise Bai Pang and Bai Pang. It seems that Yuan Xiaomi's father and those brothers treat her extremely well. Unfortunately, her grandmother is not good at nitpicking. My grandfather values men over women. Although Shikuang is the top figure, his character is extremely poor. Otherwise, we would not oppose everything and marry our granddaughter into the deep mountains and forests, let alone let her marry a man we have never met before. These situations were all learned by him from the miners from last night to this morning. Let's go home, you haven't eaten meat for a long time, have you? Speaking of meat, Xiaomi's face twitched twice. Who said there is no meat? There is meat. Just that woman Fu Yao never gives her food. She is also very strange. She has been married for over 2 months and hasn't eaten a bite of meat for over 2 months. Even drinking rice soup all day long. Why didn't the original owner lose any weight? This is not reasonable. Xiaomi was thinking about it, but saw that Qin Zan had already walked a long way, so he quickly took small steps to follow. Walking towards the wooden house, Xiaomi suddenly stopped in his tracks. Refers to the nearby mine mouth. Qin Zan. People are not allowed to live near the mine entrance as it is dangerous. This is common sense. If there is a danger in the mine, it will be difficult for people near the mine to escape. Living is difficult now, who can still care about that? You have only been in the mining area for 2 months, and you will gradually get used to it. Poverty, everything is caused by poverty. Xiaomi looked down at what she was wearing, including clothes, pants, and shoes. All of it has been patched up and some areas cannot be patched up anymore. Thinking of these, the pain in the head grew even more intense. When did she live such a miserable life? It's really a sin. Xiaomi walked into the yard with a cherry pout, and saw a pink figure quickly running out of the kitchen. Seeing Qin Zan, I almost pounced on him. Fortunately, Qin Zan dodged in time, and Fu Yao almost fell. Yuan Xiaomi, who was standing not far away, saw this scene with a smile at the end of his eyes and almost broke his skills. She found that Fu Yao has really thick skin. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. At this moment, the faint voice of Fu Yaojiao could be heard in her ear. Brother, you're back. Qin Zan didn't respond, just nodded expressionlessly and took the broken iron basin from the side, intending to pick up the snake. Fu Yao pouted and felt particularly aggrieved when she saw the other party ignoring her. Just as he was about to say something, Qin Zan saw an extra snake in his hand. Oh, it's a snake. Brother, it scared me to death. Qin Zan frowned tightly and ignored the other person. But instead, he looked up at Yuan Xiaomi standing in front of him. Seeing the other party mischievously raising their eyebrows, they smiled. Help me get the kitchen knife. Xiaomi reluctantly walked into the kitchen. I saw Ning Ning holding a kitchen knife and waiting at the door, with a slight smile on her lips. Stinky girl. Fake a glare at the other person, took the kitchen knife and walked into the courtyard. Qin Zan turned his back to Xiaomi and didn't pay attention, reaching out to pick up the kitchen knife. The hands of the two suddenly touched each other. The cold and hot, sturdy and delicate touch immediately stunned both of them. Xiaomi's heart began to beat wildly as it rubbed against it. Blink again, eh? Wait. Upon hearing Xiaomi's urgent stop, Qin Zan didn't dare to move and turned around to look at the other person. My gaze was full of doubt. What's wrong? Xiaomi stared closely at the snake gallbladder in Qin Zan's hand. 3 lines of small characters are displayed above. Name. Snake gall grade. First class, upper, production. Very low, is this snake bile? That's right. Snake. Isn't snake bile a medicinal herb? Very common medicinal herbs. No, it's not common. The snake bile, which can be analyzed by hetero eyes and has a very low yield, is not commonly of the highest quality. Can we sell for money? As soon as these words were spoken, Qin Zan was immediately stunned. Even Fu Yao, who was standing not far away and wanted to interrupt, was stunned. Because they never thought about selling these things. They miners work year-round and their lungs are not good, so they always cough. Snake bile dispels wind, calms shock, relieves phlegm and cough. I usually eat it myself when encountering it. Qin Zan, perhaps this snake gallbladder is very valuable. Yuan Xiaomi thinks he's crazy. If he's so out of control, how could anyone believe him? Not to mention the commonly seen snake bile. But she couldn't indicate that this snake bile might really be precious. Oh my goodness, Yuan Xiaomi, are you lacking in heart and mind? It's just a snake bile, no wonder everyone calls you a fool. You're really stupid. Selling money, are you crazy about poverty? Suddenly, Fu Yao, who was standing on the side, was finally able to get in and speak with sarcasm. Brother, my aunt happened to cough and used this snake bile as medicine. Fu Yaobai glanced at Xiaomi and walked over to Qin Zan. Although still afraid of snakes, I tried to pretend not to be afraid in order to show goodwill. Brother is really amazing. He can bring the snake back early in the morning. However, Qin Zan remained indifferent, his cold eyebrows and eyes fixed on the snake gallbladder in his hand. What was ringing in my ear was Xiaomi's words just now. Snake bile can also be sold for money. If the snake gallbladder in his hand is really valuable, will his mother's medical expenses be covered? At least a little can make a lot. Xiaomi, come with me. After speaking, Qin Zan collected the snake bile and stood up to walk ahead. Go straight to your own room. And Xiaomi stared at the other person's upright posture. Slender and powerful shoulders, as well as those sexy and broad shoulders. Tisk tsk, end of this chapter. Chapter 6. In this game, he lost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. In this game, he lost. Xiaomi followed Qin Zan to their room. This room is their wedding room. Since getting married, Qin Zan has also entered for the first time, and even Xiaomi has never lived there. She has been living in the small room next to her. Not to mention, although the conditions are difficult, the wedding room is newly decorated. Big red curtains and bedding. There is also a new wash basin and soap box next to it. It's not just a little better than what's in her room. No wonder Fu Yao, that tea girl, refused to let her live. You said it was instructed by your aunt. Xiaomi thinks it's just a tea girl playing tricks on herself. Xiaomi. Qin Zan's deep voice interrupted Xiaomi's train of thought. With a fierce look up, he happened to bump into the sharp gaze of the other person. For a moment, Xiaomi immediately realized that this man was very dangerous. Even the man who has been secretly in love with her for 20 years wears the same face. But he is even more oppressive. Suddenly, Qin Zan walked slowly forward and directly pressed the person against the corner of the wall. Even Xiaomi's obese figure still appears delicate under the strong physique of the other party. Is there something? Something. Qin Zanwei lowered his head and stared into the other person's eyes. There was a flicker and uncertainty in the eyes, but there was no fear, and even a hint of stubbornness. I don't like people lying to me, and I respect everything about you. Qin Zan said calmly. Suddenly, I saw my chest pressed against a chubby little hand. Thank you, I also don't like people deceiving me, and I respect everything about you. Xiaomi exerted a force on her arm and moved the other person's arm away, taking 2 steps forward to widen the distance between the two. With a raised eyebrows and eyes, he said something casually. Just now, I just casually said it, so you just listen casually. Don't take it seriously, anyway, I've always been called stupid and stupid. Just treat me as talking nonsense. After speaking, push open the door and leave directly. Looking at the sturdy figure of the other person, Qin Zan suddenly felt as if he had underestimated Yuan Xiaomi. This girl is not stupid at all, on the contrary, she is very intelligent. She knows what she wants to ask, and even knows that she has investigated her. Interesting. In this game, he lost. I didn't ask anything and was even scolded by the other party. Qin Zan had a smile on his lips that he had never even noticed before, and turned to look at his wedding room. For a long time, I was stunned. Surprisingly, no one lives in the wedding house, so Yuan Xiaomi has been living in the neighboring small house. After leaving the wedding room, Xiaomi went straight to the kitchen. I haven't eaten a single grain of rice since last night, I'm really starving to death. The roasted sweet potato just now was still in the bamboo basket outside, probably discovered by Fu Yao earlier. Lemon, is there anything to eat? Upon hearing her sister-in-law call her, Ning Ning immediately nodded and took out a bowl of rice soup she had left for her. There is also a small plate of pickled cabbage leaves. Seeing the rice soup that could count the rice grains clearly, Yuan Xiaomi frowned. Although she didn't want to eat it, she knew that it was already the best food in the Qin family besides the old cured meat. Even such rice soup can only be divided into 1 bowl per person per meal. Even roasted sweet potatoes are not something you can eat every day. Just as he was about to finish his bowl, his hand was suddenly hit hard by someone. Sprinkle a bowl of rice soup directly on the ground. Suddenly, I became angry. Fu Yao, what are you doing? It's your own lack of stability, who's to blame? Fu Yao snorted nonchalantly, completely ignoring Xiaomi. Perhaps on weekdays, she treats Xiaomi like this and never expected the other party to resist. But this Xiaomi is not that Xiaomi. Yuan Xiaomi grew up in a wealthy family and never suffered any injustice. Just this kind of slut, go up and slap him twice, and immediately calm down. And she did the same. Raise your hand and directly fan towards Fu Yao's face, not too much, slapping both sides, making your hands numb. A slap is for the deceased Yuan Xiaomi. A slap was for the frustration she suffered last night. Do you know how precious food is? Just being knocked down by you like this, Fu Yao, slapping you these 2 times is light. Looking at the rice soup on the ground, Xiaomi felt depressed. Breakfast has been soaked in soup. And Ning Ning on the side was so anxious that she almost cried. There is only 1 bowl of rice soup left, no extra. Xiaomi. Ning Ning called out in a low voice. It's okay, Ning Ning, let's go, I'll take you to find something to eat. So, he pulled the lemon and walked out of the yard. And all of this was heard by Qin Zan standing in the wedding room. Opening the door, I looked at Fu Yao, who was standing in the same place feeling extremely aggrieved and burst into tears. My eyes narrowed slightly. This is the first and last time I don't want to see you waste food again. Also, don't make the Qin family so chaotic, otherwise I will send you away. Fu Yao lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. Because she knows that Qin Zan always keeps his promises. Just why? Why does Yuan Xiaomi seem to have suddenly changed her personality? I resisted yesterday and slapped myself again today. Is it because of evil? Thinking of this, Fu Yao went to her aunt's room and saw her lying in bed resting. I just ran out of the yard and walked towards the east. And Xiaomi really took the lime to find something to eat. 2 people, each carrying a bamboo basket, walked towards the stream. There are fish in the stream, but they are all very small, and almost all the big fish have been caught by people. Xiaomi. There's nothing to eat here. Almost all the food near here has been exposed to sunlight. Even the edible grass has been picked up by people. Upon hearing Ning Ning's words, Xiaomi looked around. Suddenly, I saw a small cluster of herbs surrounded by an aperture in a very secluded area not far away. So I wanted to walk over and take a look. But the result was grabbed by Ning Ning. Xiaomi, just now my brother said he's not allowed to go to dangerous places. There's a wetland over there and it will sink in. Because it's in the south, it's rainy in the south. Many places in the forest have such wetlands, and if one is not careful, people can easily get stuck. People who spend years in mining areas have a good understanding of this type of wetland, and almost everyone has seen it. Ning Ning, you see over there. Following Xiaomi's finger, Ning Ning noticed a small circle of dense grass and nodded. There are herbs there, the kind I just picked. When I first came home, there were many herbs in the bamboo basket that had already been collected by the lime. Although she doesn't know, she knows that herbs are important to the people in the mining area. Because they don't have the money to buy medicine. I'm going to pick herbs, maybe it's effective for my mom's illness. Thinking of aunt's illness, Ning Ning hesitated. Otherwise, I'll go with you. Don't worry, it's okay. Due to the warning from the strange eye, Xiaomi was able to successfully avoid danger and finally safely picked the clump of herbs. I also picked a lot of lime. It is the same as millet. But one thing is different, what she picked was all covered by light, while the ones she picked with lime did not have light. Although no food was found, 2 bamboo baskets of herbs were collected. Xiaomi thinks it's earned. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Magic Curse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Magic Curse. It takes about an hour to walk from the mining area to Hezi village. Hezi village is not large, with only over 100 households in the village. Most of the people in the village are mining. It's just that there are many mines of all sizes in the mountainous areas, and everyone is located in different mines. Xiaomi wants to take these herbs back to Hezi village and exchange them for some food. Selling to the traditional Chinese medicine in the village is the best. In exchange for money, she may still be able to visit AZ County. Always understand what kind of world you are in. The original owner had no concept in his mind. With this in mind, Xiaomi turned to look at Qin Ning, who had been silent all along. In the past 2 months of marriage, thanks to Qin Ning's memory of her kindness, she often kept some food for her, which prevented her from starving to death. When Fu Yao bullied someone, although Ning Ning didn't speak, she always stood by her side and helped her. Ning Ning, I want to go down the mountain later. Will you follow me? Speaking of going down the mountain, Qin Ning immediately shook her head vigorously, her eyes filled with fear. Even throwing away the bamboo basket in his hand and running frantically towards home. Hey, what's wrong with you? Xiaomi picked up the bamboo basket for unknown reasons and ran home. Just as I ran to the gate, I saw Qin Zan blocking Qin Ning, but Ning Ning resisted with force. Without saying a word, he knocked the person unconscious and carried them back to the room. Xiaomi ran into the room feeling a bit confused, and the next second he saw Qin Zan looking at him with a fierce expression all over his body. Suddenly, the steps under my feet stopped. What did you just do to Lemon? She didn't do anything, just said she wanted to go down the mountain. Xiaomi thought to herself, but didn't say anything. Just calmly looking at Qin Zan. For a moment, Qin Zan let out a deep sigh. Ning Ning is fine, she should be scared. So, if it's okay, Xiaomi can feel at ease. I didn't say anything, just asked her if she wanted to go down the mountain. I wanted to go back to Heezy village. Upon hearing these words, Qin Zan was stunned, and the old memories that had been weighing down in his heart instantly hit his heart. Then he raised his hand and touched his sister's hair, feeling very sorry for her experience. Don't mention this matter again in the future, Ning Ning is very resistant to going down the mountain. That's also why their family needs to wander around the mining area year-round and cannot go down the mountain. Even if Auntie is seriously ill and goes to the county hospital for surgery, it is always Fu Yao who takes care of her. Lemon cannot go down the mountain. Descending the mountain feels like a spell. She is afraid to go down the mountain. I'll take care of Ning Ning, you go out. For a long time, Qin Zan said as if exhausted. Xiaomi pursed her lips and didn't disturb the siblings before turning around and leaving silently. She never expected that a very ordinary sentence could bring such great excitement to Ning Ning. Although Qin Zan did not blame her, she felt uneasy in her heart. Ning Ning has always been very good to the original owner. These days, she came over and was also very friendly to her. She, who always claims to be smart, can't even get along well with people at the most basic level. Xiaomi sighed lightly and walked into the yard to see 3 bamboo baskets placed in the yard. She always has to do something, she can't be so passive. So he walked to the courtyard, brought a stool, and started selecting herbs. The bamboo basket contains all the medicinal herbs picked in the morning, including 3 or 4 types. Put the same herbs into a bamboo basket, and at the end, when Xiaomi saw the lime and the 2 baskets she picked, she had an extra heart. Put the ones you picked into a bamboo basket, and the ones you picked with lime into a bamboo basket. She must go back to Heezy village to take a look later. If you really want to go back to the village, I can come with you. Suddenly, Qin Zan's cold voice came from behind. Everyone has their own story, everyone has their own experiences. Even now, there are still many poor people in the southwestern border. As ordinary people, we can't do anything but be grateful to our parents. It was they who allowed me and you in front of our phones or computers to live a prosperous life in luxury. Babies. Hope you make progress in your studies and stay healthy. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Upgrading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Upgrading. Xiaomi turned around and looked at the person coming. But there was no response. What's wrong? Blame me for just killing you. Qin Zan crouched down, glanced at the medicinal herbs in the bamboo basket, and then looked at the chubby girl who was silent. I did have a bad attitude just now, I apologize, but it was indeed because of nervousness, Ning Ning. My father passed away early, and now my mother is seriously ill. I don't want my sister to have any more problems. Actually, Qin Zan doesn't need to explain so much. This is not his usual style either. But when I see a girl sitting alone in the yard, I always feel like he's a dignified 7-foot man. How could he bully a girl? I also have something wrong with saying things that Ning Ning cannot listen to. If you really have time, then accompany me back to Heezy village. Apologizing is the most meaningless thing. Xiaomi thinks it's better to do more practical things. Even if you switch to something that Lime likes to eat, it's more useful than the words apology. Okay, then you go and prepare. It's raining in the mountainous areas, and I don't know when it will rain. Bring a raincoat and a straw hat. The people in the mountains are all poor and do not have umbrellas. Even in heavy rain, one can only wear raincoat and straw hat. Xiaomi nodded and was about to turn around to go to the room when she saw the tall man who came to find Qin Zan yesterday coming again. This time I didn't smile, my expression was solemn. Boss. A tall man named Zhao Dagong grew up with Qin Zan from a young age. Two people join the army and retire together. He is a rare true brother who can spare no effort and hand over his back to the other person. What's wrong? You go and take a look. Old Han didn't know where to find the person who said the mine wasn't agate. Gathering people, thinking of coming to your house to cause trouble. Upon hearing this, Qin Zan's mouth tightened and he turned to look at Xiaomi. I'm sorry, it seems that I can't go back to Hezi village with you. Can I go to the mine with you? I have plenty of reasons to make those people believe that the ore you mined yesterday is agate. No one has ever dared to question her profession. Xiaomi thinks that the person named Lao Han is definitely intentionally targeting Qin Zan. Hee. That's not the point. The key point is that old Han is not satisfied with him and wants to replace him as the manager of the mine. At least you can get some benefits from it. But. Boss, I think Xiaomi. Sister.in.law is right. Old Han is not a good person, but others still trust you very much. But everyone is afraid that they will not be able to extract valuable ore after more than 2 months of digging. Seeing Zhao Dagong also saying the same, he finally arranged for his mother and sister. A group of 3 rushed towards the mine entrance. Xiaomi is fat and not very tall. Following behind Qin Zan and Zhao Dagong, walking panting heavily. Especially the injury I received yesterday, it also affected my actions. Halfway through the journey, I can't keep up. Qin Zan turned around to look at Xiaomi, slowed down his pace, and waited for a moment. Xiaomi has just caught up. Thank you. Xiaomi panted and said thank you, then continued to follow. About 20 minutes later, 3 people stood at the mine entrance. There are already many people gathered around, even more than yesterday. Boss, old Han has invested a lot of money to replace you. Even our people have been convinced. Although everyone is a miner, they are also divided into factions. According to age, young people who are about the same age as Qin Zan are divided into one faction. Middle-aged people in their 40s and 50s, who are similar in age to Han, are divided into one faction. Of course, there are also neutral ones. Seeing the scene before her, Xiaomi furrowed her brows slightly. No wonder Qin Zan didn't let her come. The situation is indeed dangerous. Qin Zan, yesterday you asked a yellow-haired girl to tell us that the mine was agate, but today I found an old mine master with long eyes. How come the results are different? A middle-aged man with a beard stood in front of everyone, asking someone to place a basket of minerals in front of him. Then take out a piece from the basket and ask the ore master next to you. After carefully examining it, the ore master told everyone that it was not agate, but jade. When the master said it was jade, everyone began to discuss loudly. Jade is more valuable than agate. What, are you trying to conceal the truth and make the big guy suffer? Do you steal and sell money yourself? The old Korean language is aggressive and doesn't give people any time to react. Even inciting the emotions of the miners, let everyone fight against Qin Zan together. The miners may not be able to see such an obvious purpose. But Yuan Xiaomi can tell. This kind of small and trivial means is not enough to look at in her big house. At this moment, Qin Zan turned around and looked at Xiaomi beside him. Can you see clearly how that ore is different from yesterday's? It's too far away, I can't see clearly. Moreover, she is now looking at the ore, which has no small characters on it. I can only vaguely see a hint of green. Green can be agate, or it can really be jade. So she must take a closer look. That old Han is quite cunning. Today's ore is all in large chunks. It must be held by hand. She wants to determine the internal structure, besides cutting, by grinding the edges green. But the large ore blocks are too limiting for action. Of course, one can also use the powers of the eyes. Thinking of this, Xiaomi raised her face and looked at Qin Zan. Seeing that the other person was also looking at her, Xiaomi suddenly blushed. The ore he prepared today is too large for me to judge. I have tools here. But I reckon they won't let you use them. Because even the teacher just now was useless. Old Han will definitely use this as an excuse to say that the ore master he is looking for is not professional. It's okay, I can give it a try. Speaking of which, Xiaomi suddenly closed her eyes. When he opened his eyes again, his little hand directly grasped Qin Zan's big hand. The sudden contact between the two people is a bit uncomfortable. Especially Qin Zan. The small hands in the palm are chubby, soft, and feel as if they have no bones. And it's quite smooth and tender. Qin Zan. You lower your head. Qin Zan. It's not very good in public, right? Hurry up. Seeing Xiaomi anxious, Qin Zan could only lean slightly and slowly approach Xiaomi. Xiaomi whispered to Qin Zan in a low voice. Qin Zan didn't understand what the other person was saying. But I only feel warm in my ears, with a warm breeze blowing by. Suddenly, a warm little mouth fell down. Then, Xiaomi's heart began to beat fiercely. Qin Zan is not much better either. Wheat-colored skin cannot conceal a flushed face. Xiaomi, what are you doing? However, just as he finished speaking, he saw Xiaomi walking towards the ore with a red face and a serious expression. Without even glancing at old Han, he picked up a piece of ore. At this point, a few lines of small characters appear on the ore. Type. Agate, green, ingredients. Silica gel hardness. 5.0.5.5 specific gravity. Appearance. Reference price. Has the ability been upgraded? Xiaomi blinked hard. The hardness column has not disappeared. It seems that her abilities can really be upgraded. And it seems very impressive. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Protecting the calf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Protecting the calf. After the eyes gave specific information, Xiaomi pretended to place the ore on the ground. Then take out the dagger that was just taken from Zhao Dagang and slowly cut it on the ore. This is quite unprofessional practice. But there's nothing we can do now. What are you doing? Old Han saw that Yuan Xiaomi wanted to move the ore and quickly stepped forward to stop it. Xiaomi suddenly lifted her head, looked at the other person, and sneered. Of course, I want to see what exactly is in this ore, whether it's agate or the jade that this teacher mentioned. You little girl, get out of here. Old Han approached and was about to kick Xiaomi when he saw Qin Zan walking over. That foot didn't dare to fall. Old Han, since you asked me to give everyone an explanation, of course I want my people to take a good look at the ore. I can't just talk nonsense. Qin Zan glanced at the old master beside him and replied in a tone that was not friendly. Then he stood in front of Xiaomi directly to prevent old Han from taking the blame. And Xiaomi was actually pretending, but unexpectedly, that piece of ore was actually cut off by a dagger. At the fault, there is surprisingly green. Green and verdant, with vibrant colors. It is indeed very similar to jade. But upon closer inspection, there are significant differences. If separated by the ore, it is impossible to see what is inside. But when you see the fault, not only Xiaomi, but also most miners can tell what it is. As you can see, this is not jade. Xiaomi lifted the green exposed ore that had been cut off for the miners to see clearly. Firstly, jadeite is produced from basic serpentinized peridotite, but you can see that this ore is clearly wrapped in opal. That's the kind extracted yesterday. Agate has many colors, red, green, yellow, black, and so on. But our mine is very strange, it can produce 2 colors of agate, which shows that our luck is too good. Xiaomi walked up to the miner with the ore and asked everyone to take a closer look. Even giving explanations on the side. A few minutes later, everyone realized that they had truly wronged Qin Zan. Alas, let me tell you. In the past 2 months or so, Qin and we have been mining together, but we haven't eaten well or slept well. How could we be deceived? That's it, all right, let's break up together. Agate is also good, at least as the little girl said, 2 colors. Everyone, you speak for me. Although some people still have doubts, most people still choose to believe Qin. After all, Qin was once a soldier. In the 1980s, soldiers still held great weight in the hearts of the people. At this moment, Yuan Xiaomi walked up to the teacher and placed a small piece of ore in their hand. Master, your eyes are so divine. My grandfather dare not even say that he can determine what is inside just by looking at the ore. Moreover, your common sense is too poor. What is in the ore, just say it wrong, after all, no one can see it. But judging the type of ore can also be wrong, right? Xiaomi's mouth is not an ordinary poison. Although she is not familiar with Qin, at least she has a face that she has been secretly in love with for 20 years. Facing that face, this calf, she also needs protection. Teacher Fu's face turned very ugly when he heard Xiaomi's sarcasm. Just as I was about to explain a few words, I saw Qin blocking in front of me. Although I don't know where old Han found you as a master, if you still want to make a living in the future, it's best to leave quickly, otherwise. Before Qin could speak, the teacher didn't even dare to say a word. He left with a disheveled face. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Backwardness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Backwardness. Old Han felt extremely depressed when he saw his master leave. This was paid for by him. I received a lot of money, but someone exposed it. Isn't this a loss for madam and a loss for soldiers? Qin, what exactly do you want to do? My person, why did you let him go? Old Han stood in front of Qin with a black face, staring at him with sharp eyes. Qin inexplicably tugged at the corners of his mouth, with a hint of disdain in his tone. Old Han, I know you have objections to me, after all, you used to manage the mine. But you should also be aware that if it weren't for your negligence, our mine wouldn't have been targeted by those people, let alone suffered so much loss. Upon hearing this, Old Han snorted, but he also knew that what the other party was saying was the truth. That incident was indeed caused by his careless speech, which resulted in the loss of a lot of ore. As a result, he was targeted by that group of people. Okay, let it go this time. I won't give you a chance in the future. Old Han left with a sense of guilt. The other miners saw that the main figures had left, and they didn't need to stay here either. So, in a few minutes, only Qin, Yuan Xiaomi, and a few familiar young people remained near the mine entrance. Boss, I think Old Han has a heart of thieves that never dies. Yeah, boss, if we keep going like this, we'll still mine or not? Make a scene every 3 days or 2, boss. We absolutely can't spare him this time. Don't take too far in life. Otherwise, he will repeatedly become a demon. How could Qin not know this truth? Old Han is different. Old Han stayed at the mine for a long time, over 20 years. And he only took over the management of the mine 2 months ago. In terms of experience and seniority, Qin is not convinced by others. If we were to move Old Han now, those old workers at the mine would definitely feel that he is targeting all the miners. Thinking of this, Qin let out a deep sigh. I know, don't worry, he can't jump around for long either. When everyone heard Qin's words, it was like taking a calming pill. Okay, boss, let's go down to the mine first. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 people left in front of the mine. Zhao Dugong saw that his brother's face was ugly, so he raised his hand and patted the other person's shoulder to show comfort. Don't listen to those stinky kids' nonsense, they understand the bullshit. Old Han is in his 40s and has been a manager for more than a decade, mixing up so many mines. If it weren't for making a mistake this time, I wouldn't have been replaced by Qin, a newcomer. I am naturally not convinced in my heart. Well, I know. It's good to know, don't worry, you go back and rest. It's been 7 or 8 days without a good night's sleep, I'm here to watch. There won't be anything wrong. Qin Zan naturally trusts Zhao Dagang. But since he's here, he always has to do something before he can go back. I saw him turn around and look at the chubby girl standing behind him. Have you ever been to the mine? Do you want to come with me and take a look? Is that okay? But this figure. Going down to the bottom may not work, but you can go down halfway. Okay. So Qin Zan took Xiaomi to the mine entrance. To be honest, before going into the mine, Xiaomi thought that the conditions in the mining area could only be described as difficult. But when she saw everything below the mine, it's not just about hardship. Too backward. They all went down to the mine manually to release the lifting ropes. Because Xiaomi is too fat, it is only placed at half the distance. Fortunately, there is a mining tunnel next to it. The two of them crawled in. In the cramped space, one can still smell a mixture of ore and soil. Are these all dug out by miners' pickaxes? Seeing the imprints of various tools above, Xiaomi asked incredulously. Well, our mountainous area is the toughest, and all the miners work very hard. Qin Zan has never worked in mines elsewhere. But he has served in other cities and served in the military. In 1987, many cities in Xia country had already begun to revitalize their economy. Even ordinary people can make money by doing small businesses. Many developed cities have even installed landline telephones, refrigerators, color televisions, and these household appliances. But in the southwestern border, Yun province, not at all. The people here still live a very backward life. Not to mention electricity, there are no candles, only kerosene lamps. The novel items he got married with were all mailed back from the military before. So he was particularly surprised when he heard his mother say that the girl who got married was a junior high school graduate. Because the people here prioritize men over women very seriously. Not to mention asking girls to read, not even boys can read. This time, the miners have been digging for over 2 months, day and night, so I also hope to dig up jade. Unfortunately, I didn't have that fate. Perhaps there are no other people in this mine, or perhaps the narrow space makes people more eager to release. In short, Qin Zan, for the first time, told Xiaomi about something that had been pressing in his heart for a long time. After speaking, I felt quite embarrassed again. I'm sorry to say this to you. It's okay. Xiaomi crouched in the mine tunnel, looking around, touching this and that. It is obvious that this is an abandoned mine passage. Because there are no veins in the entire mining tunnel that has been visually excavated. You just said, our mountainous area is very complex. Yes, there are many different minerals in the mountains. Last year, someone said that jade would be produced in our mountainous area. So a large number of people began to attack this mountainous area. Digging one mine after another. Unfortunately, very few can excavate jade. The mine we are currently digging is not wanted by others. Although it's not necessary, if we continue to dig, we may be able to find something else. At least it saves the tedious preliminary work. It's okay, didn't you dig up the agate? After I get the data, I'll make a budget. See how much can be dug out. Has your grandfather ever said, what is the probability of producing ore from this second-hand mine? This is what Qin Zan wants to know the most. Xiaomi tilted her face and squinted her eyes as she looked at the other person. Because the mine was very dark, the two of them had headlights on their heads. But the light is a bit dim, it just shows that there isn't much left in the battery. However, one can clearly see the solemnity of the other person's face. After a long time, he murmured back. I'm not sure about this, I need to see the specific situation to make a judgment, and I can't just talk nonsense, can I? In fact, before the large army mines, there should be professionals to explore. Detect if there are any minerals in this mountain range. However, Xiaomi realized that Qin Zan seemed to know nothing about these things. Even in the deep mountains and forests of the southwestern border, there are no such professionals at all. All rely on manual excavation. Okay, but today, thank you. In the chaotic scene just now, Yuan Xiaomi defended him in her way. He is very happy. After coming up from the mine, the two of them returned home. Qin Zan couldn't break his promise to accompany Yuan Xiaomi back to Hezi village. So I prepared my raincoat and brought some dry food and water. And those herbs, the two of them went down the mountain. As Qin Zan said, the weather is unpredictable. They had only walked about half the way before it began to drizzle. After putting on their raincoat and straw hat, the two continued on their journey. End of this chapter.